everybody. Welcome to Rachel's Reviews. This is our last episode of this season of Talking Doctor Who. We are looking at the final two episodes, The Ascension of the Cybermen and The Timeless Children. I am film critic Rachel Wagner, and I'm always joined by my friend Jonathan North for this.
Hey.
Hey. So let's dive into this finale. It was pretty jam-packed, so it's going to be fun to talk about it. And so it started with The Ascension of the Cybermen. And what was your overall thoughts of this episode?
It was fine. It wasn't bad, but it didn't blow me away or anything.
Yeah.
It was fine.
It was pretty much just building. There wasn't a whole lot of meat on the bones for this one. And they kind of saved everything for the Timeless Children. And so, yeah, I basically agree with you. We're kind of zipped through this one pretty quickly. But it starts out with this sort of kind of Irish Superman story where these farmers find this baby in Ireland, and he ends up having kind of powers that saves him. At one point he falls off a cliff and he is unhurt, and he is at one point he's a police officer. And then he is confronted by his adoptive father and another man, and they place these electromagnetic things on his head, and so it turns out he has like power, kind of like a Superman type of kind of creature. What did you think of this? His name is Brendan.
I was so confused.
Yeah.
Like, there was no context whatsoever given for this story. It had nothing to do with the main story. Literally nothing. It was just put in there, I guess, to set up what happens in the next episode. But it made zero sense. I was so confused. I didn't know what was going on. I was like, why are they showing this random story? My first thought was, this is going to be the half-converted Cyberman. It's like, because they're showing this story of this baby growing up, and I'm like, well, it's going to tie together in the end. So obviously this is going to be the half-converted Cyberman, and it's going to be his tragic backstory. And then it didn't tie together. So I was like, what the heck was this? And it made no sense.
Yeah, it was pretty confusing. Even with the second episode, there was a lot. We'll talk about it, but there was a lot in that second episode, and I don't know if I even really. He has something to do with the boundary, right? And that portal.
No, he was the doctor.
He was the doctor.
Yeah. One of the lives that the Time Lords erased.
Oh, okay.
I'm fairly certain. like I said, I was kind of confused, but I'm fairly certain that was supposed to be the Doctor. One of the lives before the Doctor became the Doctor. Because it sounded like the Time Lords were just letting the Doctor live out a life, then erasing that life from the Doctor's memory, and then sending them out to be another person.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. There's a lot going on in that second episode. Sorry. Okay.
I can't blame you for being
That makes sense. So yeah, it was weird. And then basically then it kind of reverts to this almost Mad Max kind of situation where there's humanity is almost extinct. The Cybermen are executing them. And we have this man named Ethan who ends up joining with Ryan, and they try to help the Doctor. They're hijacking the cyber shuttles, and so that's kind of going on. And then we have in space, we have Yaz, Graham, and 3 other humans that are trying to get a Kosharamas. They're trying to get them home to the boundary, which is a portal that sends humans where the Cybermen can't follow. It's supposed to be the safe space, I guess. And so yeah, and then we have Ashad and his crew. They end up with Ryan and Ethan, and Ashad is like our half Cyberman kind of character that we got introduced to in the villa episode. And so Ko Shiramis is a person who basically like helps everybody through the boundary, this portal. And so Yaz warns the Doctor that the ship with Ashad and the warriors are coming, and they find out that the other side of the portal is Gallifrey. And that's when we kind of meet the Master, and he tells the Doctor that everything is going to change and she should be very afraid.
I'm not really sure what was up with that portal, because I don't think it was always Gallifrey. Like the way they were talking, it was always changing what was on the other side. But then, unless the Master did it, which I suppose would make sense, but I still don't exactly get why it happened. But Gallifrey showed up twice, because they talked about the portal closing after they'd already gone through. But then more people were coming through to Gallifrey later. So I wasn't exactly sure how the portal was supposed to be working.
Yeah. It was a little bit weird. But that's basically this episode. There's not a whole lot of plot. It's just kind of introducing you to the boundary, to this back history, I guess, of it's just introduced to these characters, and that the Cybermen have been destroying everybody. That there's extinct, humanity is extinct, and that's about it. I mean,
Well, it had the cliffhanger at the end with the Master popping through, saying the Doctor needed to come with him, and everybody else had to stay at whatever, something like that.
Right. There's nothing else I missed, right? On that one.
Nothing that's coming to mind right away.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about this Timeless Children. So, I am not an expert in any way, shape, or form on Doctor Who. I'm not somebody who's going to be complaining about lore or anything like that. I don't have enough knowledge for that. I have seen 4 seasons now, so I feel like that's nothing to sneeze at. So my problems with this finale are more fundamental than they are necessarily about lore. I just think that this episode was really bad storytelling in a fundamental way. First of all, if you're going to provide basically a prequel to your series that has been going on a long time, and you're going to be answering all of these questions that I don't think anybody really was asking. Is anybody asking about what was happening to the Doctor when it was a child? Do we care about that? I don't think so. And then also the thing, why, if you are going to do that, why would you cram it all into one episode? And then what happens, because you've decided to do that, is that almost this entire episode is people explaining stuff to the Doctor. It's just talking and talking and talking and talking and talking and talking. And it was, I just thought, really bad. And the exposition dump after exposition dump, to the point where you can't really even absorb it all, because you're just hearing, whether it's the Master talking, whether it's, it just was unending. And you end the season feeling like this was really rushed. And if they were going to do this, they definitely needed 2 or 3 more episodes. And if they were going to do it, why on earth would they have some of these throwaway episodes that did nothing for the story? And here they're trying to basically kind of wrap up the Ruth Doctor storyline in just exposition. They have to wrap up they have to kind of put some kind of cap on the Master storyline, which was just exposition. They have all of the stuff about the Doctor, literally just the Doctor in the Matrix, immovable, and just him talking and talking and talking and talking. I thought it was really bad. And it was very frustrating to me, because I feel like some of the ideas have potential, but I just can't understand why they would go about it the way that they did. And even so, I still was left, even with all of this explaining, I was still left with questions because some parts don't make sense to me. And that very well could be because I'm not an expert. But I just thought that if you're going to take a bold step of kind of adding this huge thing to an existing series that has been on for a long time, then you need to do better than have it crammed into one finale episode. That was my feeling.
Well, I didn't have quite that reaction, but I agree with everything you're saying.
Yeah.
It was a lot, and I guess my question is, why did they feel like they needed to do this? Like, do they have more stories planned? Or, because my suspicion is that this is just the writers, or one writer, the showrunner, wanting to leave his mark on Doctor Who. Like, this is my greatest addition to the canon, adding a whole new layer of Doctor Who that for people to work with. And it's like, why?
Yeah, it's so dumb. I like I said, that's the problem that you often have with prequels is they're answering questions that nobody cared about or needed to know. You know, like even if it ends up being a decent movie, why did we need to know about, like, it's the same argument with the Han Solo movie. We didn't need to know how he got his name. We didn't need to know, like, they're answering questions that nobody cares about. And so I think it's just dumb. It's frustrating to me. And so I was not a big fan of this. And but we'll dive in, we'll talk about it. So basically, the whole let me get back to my notes. So the Doctor goes into this matrix thing, and the Master talks and talks and talks and talks and talks a lot. And we find out, we've had hints about this timeless child thing throughout the season. And we basically find out that the timeless child is this creature, alien, whatever, that has the infinite capacity to regenerate. So it can just keep regenerating over and over and over again. And what they were able to do is they were able to take that capacity and they were able to create more Time Lords out of it. They're able to adapt it, and it becomes a group called the Division. And so that's like the big first part of the exposition dump. And the thing that I have a question about is, if the Doctor is the timeless child, which is what they say that she is, then was she regenerating as a child? Like, was her mother killing her and then she would regenerate again and again and again? That doesn't make any sense.
I think that's what they were implying.
Yeah, that seems crazy to me. And then also, doesn't it seem weird to you that if her original state was female, that she would all of a sudden have have all of these regenerations that were male? That seems a little crazy and weird to me.
No, because it's already been, I guess, canonized that it doesn't matter for Time Lords. Like, they can be anything. Like, they'll go back and forth. They'll stay one thing for a while. They'll change the other thing. They'll whatever.
But it seems weird to me that she would have been a male that many times in a row.
Doesn't seem weird to me.
Yeah, it definitely does.
But also, and this has nothing to do with that. Either way, it wouldn't seem weird. But we technically don't even know if the form that the timeless child had at the beginning was the very first form that it had. Like, we don't know that that's like was it just a brand new being, or had it been alive for a long time. Like, we know literally nothing about the timeless child. Like, the Doctor's history is now pretty much wide open. Like, no, you don't know what race they are. You don't know how old they are. It's like it basically erased the beginning of the Doctor's life and added an infinite timeline that you could write anything into.
Mm. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, that's true. I mean, but I don't know. It just seems weird to me that you would have her, what it seemed like is her sort of original state, at least on Gallifrey, that she's a girl, and then all of a sudden she's a male, 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 male. And I just felt like that was kind of a cute way of the creators of, like, kind of a not great way of them being like, see, she was, all the haters out there hating that she's a woman, that, oh, she was always a woman even from the beginning. And that was kind of, I don't know, I didn't like that. I thought it was lame. And then the uh and then it just seemed, this idea that her mother would just keep killing her so she keep regenerating, that's
Well, I didn't
weird to
think,
me.
I don't, I guess, yeah, she technically was her adoptive mother, but I feel like she had, she would have felt like she was a scientist first, and she would have, I don't know that how much she actually loved the child, because it seemed like the child was basically just a thing that she could experiment on. And I think that's what the whole purpose of that was. I'm not sure how much she actually even loved the child,
Mm.
because I'm assuming she just kept killing her.
Yeah. And all this, I mean, could have made more sense and been more interesting if they hadn't crushed it
Yeah.
in to
Yes.
one finale episode with just a bunch of exposition. You're trying to keep track of all these things that he's talking about. And I don't know. Anyway, so the master basically takes in the Cyberium from Ashad and the Cybermen. And that's when we see the Ruth Doctor, and she basically overloads the matrix with all of her memories from all the regenerations. So you see this this flashback going on, and so yeah, I mean, that was interesting. And then Yaz and Graham basically hide in the outfits of the Cybermen, of the armor, and so they're able to get by. And I still think, like, they gave the companions stuff to do, but it's stuff that to me felt like you could excise it completely and it wouldn't really matter. I still don't feel like I've gotten to know them very well this season, and I don't feel
Hmm.
like they've been good companion. Like, it's not their fault, it's not the actor's fault. I
Yeah.
just think the writing hasn't been very good for them.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. So then you have Ryan and Ethan and this coach Shermis, and that whole plot was particularly unnecessary. At least Yaz and Graham were with the Cybermen,
Hmm.
and they had some little more to do. They all go to they get, there's more exposition, and basically I felt like the companions were kind of off doing errands, and as opposed to really being important to the plot.
Well, it felt
And
like they were all split up for really arbitrary reasons.
yeah, I
It just
agree.
it felt like the writers got lazy with why they, like, even the fact that they took the Cyberman's spaceship. It was like the TARDIS is parked somewhere on that planet.
Yeah,
Well, they could take the spaceship, but like, why take the spaceship off into space? Why not go get the TARDIS? Because the TARDIS is an infinitely better ship than the
right.
Cyberman's spaceship. It There was so many
Yeah,
things like that that didn't make sense. Why split up the companions? It just felt like it was adding unnecessary drama.
right. I agree. And so they're at Galfrey then, and Shad has this death particle that's going to destroy the planet. And then we have the Doctor and the companions blowing up the cyber carrier with all of the bunch of the cyber army in there. And then the Doctor sends the companions home, and she sets off the death particle. and that's when the Sharmus character, he takes it, and then Gallifrey is destroyed. But then when it ends, the Doctor is arrested by the Jadoon, sent to prison, and that's kind of our cliffhanger, I guess.
Mm-hmm. It was kind of dumb, but I also kind of liked the cliffhanger because it was a very obvious callback to episodes with the 10th Doctor, when the season would end with something ridiculous happen. Like what at the end of season 3, the Titanic crashed into the TARDIS.
Oh yeah.
You saw the front of the Titanic piercing through the wall, and the Doctor's just staring up at it, going, "What? What? What?"
Yeah.
So it was basically that. So it was kind of dumb because, like, how did the Jadoon get into the TARDIS? But at the same time, I liked it for being a callback to
Yeah.
number 10.
I can see that.
But
So
also, speaking of things that are kind of dumb, the Master's ultimate plan to fuse the Time Lords and the Cybermen. And this, I'm sure, I haven't really looked into a whole lot of reaction online. I'm sure people hated this episode, but
yeah.
when he unveiled the Time Lord Cybermen with their big cloaks and the Time Lord regalia on the Cyberman, I just burst out laughing.
Yeah.
And I said, "This is so stupid. I
Yeah.
love it." I don't know why. I loved it because it was stupid. It was just ridiculously entertaining. It just made me laugh so much. That's probably not what they were going for.
No, I don't think so.
But I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, so is the Master hoping to be able to lead this army?
I don't know, but they're all dead now, so it doesn't matter.
So I mean, because you're thinking, what is his sort of motivation in all of this? Is to.
I think part of the reason that didn't really bother me is because the Master is just insane. Like, the whole plan was ridiculous. Like I said, it was really stupid.
Yeah.
But, like, the Master is insane. He's basically the kind of the Joker of the Doctor Who universe.
Mm.
So to me, his plans don't need to make sense. He has a little box that shrinks people into tiny dolls. So, I mean, the Master is ridiculous. He's just insane. So whatever he did didn't really bother me because it was just ridiculous.
Yeah. I guess, but I feel like even the Joker usually has some motivation behind what he's doing, even if he acts like a crazy person. And that would have been interesting to see, like he wants power, or he wants to, manipulate people, or he's cynical or something. But anyway,
I think it's a combination of all that. He wants to manipulate the Doctor. He wants power, but he's insane. So he's got really weird ideas of how to do that.
I guess. Yeah, I just thought this was really poorly written. I thought
I'm not disagreeing.
Yeah.
I was entertained by it, but I am not going to say it was an amazing episode.
I get that. I think that they also did not close out that the big reveal of the Ruth Doctor that fizzled. It wasn't anything interesting.
I'm going to assume that they're going to come back to that. I'm going to hope that they're going to come back to that, because that did not feel like a good enough reveal, at least for her part. Like, I feel like we need more closure on her. I want a specific answer on where in the timeline she fits, because even if she is from the time before the Doctor was the Doctor, why is she still called the Doctor? And why does she have the TARDIS that's shaped like the phone box?
Yeah.
Because that was something that happened with the first Doctor. He traveled to Earth, and his TARDIS turned into a police box and broke. It's stuck like that. That's why it looks like that. Because the TARDIS is supposed to be able to look like anything. So if she's from the time before the Doctor was the Doctor, her TARDIS could just be parked somewhere and like turned into a tree, like the Doctor did at the end of this episode. She left the TARDIS on the planet as a tree. So the Ruth Doctor should have been able to do that. Instead, her TARDIS was buried and was a phone box. So I feel like unless that's really poor writing, which I really hope it's not, the TARDIS should not have been a phone box, and it should have just been left somewhere to blend in.
But that's the problem with prequels, is that first of all, they explain things that you don't care about. And second of all, they just are inherently going to cause contradictions with canon. It's just the way it is. I mean, I'm trying to think of any examples of a prequel that I guess you have The Godfather Part 2 is the only one I can think of. But but for the most part, they are just inherently problematic because, and especially if they're going to do multiple episodes sort of exploring this timeline and this timeless child thing, it's just going to cause all kinds of problems like that. And I just don't think that's interesting. I don't think it's interesting problems. And I felt like this was a way of kind of cementing their place that, oh, the Doctor was always a girl, so stop it, you haters. And that was kind of annoying to me. And I felt like I just will never understand that if you have 10 episodes to work with, why on earth did you save all of this reveal for a finale where, I mean, how long was the Master just talking and talking and talking why the Doctor was in the Matrix? It felt like forever. And it's just like, that's not good storytelling. It's just not. It is not good storytelling to have one character just talking and talking and talking while another character is completely incapacitated. That's not interesting. That's not good storytelling.
There's a reason that people say show don't tell. They should have shown all this stuff throughout the season.
Exactly.
All this stuff at the end.
Exactly. It was just very poorly done. And I'm very disappointed because I was really hopeful that with a new voice, because I'm not a big fan of Stephen Moffat and his twisteroos, and I was hopeful that this new writer would, I mean, he's not new to Doctor Who, but a new showrunner, that this wouldn't happen. But it's happened. And like last season was fine, but this season is mixed at best, and this finale just leaves a sour taste in my mouth.
Yeah, I don't have a sour taste in my mouth, but I'm leaning towards mixed at best again, because it just wasn't amazing. Like, I wanted anything, like the closest we came to amazing was the episode with the Ruth Doctor. I still think that one was the best written, best revealed of all, like the big revelations. Everything about that was practically amazing. I loved that episode. And the rest of them, everything just felt, it was just disjointed. It's just like we go from one adventure to the other with nothing really tying them together, and only tiny mentions of this larger mystery, and then everything is just a big exposition dump at the very end.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I didn't hate the season. Like, there was episodes that I did enjoy, and I really liked the Ruth Doctor episode. There was the one that I really...
Yeah, the Orphan 55.
Yeah, like if I ever say I hate any episode, that's going to be the closest one that I come to actually hating an episode, because it was just dumb.
Yeah. Our friend Richard Southworth, who we probably will have on the show if for a kind of a series season ranking conclusion, and he did a poll of what was the worst episode of series 12, and he had Orphan 55 and then other as the choice. Please specify below. 90.9. Agreed. The Orphan 55 was the worst. Yeah. I mean, I liked the Praxeus episode quite a bit, because it was just, I thought that disease and that like making the people dissolve was pretty gnarly. And just the birds creep me out, because birds creep me out. And so I kind of thought that one was fun, but I don't know. I just feel like the writing hasn't been strong enough. That's what it comes down to. I feel like the talent's all there. Yeah. Everybody is talented, good actors. The production has been fine for the most part. And it's just, the scripts just haven't been great.
Yeah.
So, what are you going to do? So that's disappointing. And I was frustrated watching it. I was just, and I'm like trying to take notes and trying to keep track of all these reveals. And I'm like, what is happening? But anyway, so there you go. That's our thoughts on the finale, the Ascension of the Cybermen and the Timeless Children. And let us know if you're listening.
I just thought of something.
Oh yeah.
The episode is called The Timeless Children.
Yeah.
There was only one.
It's true. So
hinting about something?
Well,
because
unless they consider each regeneration of her another child, maybe.
But as I was watching, I was thinking, or after the reveal, I guess, I was thinking, it would make more sense if the Master was the Timeless Child. So I wonder if maybe they're hinting with the title that maybe the Master is also one of the same race as whatever the Doctor is.
Of the division?
Whatever the Timeless Children are, or Timeless Child was. Because the Timeless Child, we don't know where that came from. So I'm wondering if maybe the Master is the Timeless Child as well.
So according to Wikipedia, it says that there's these natives. There's one called Tactian.
She was one of the race that became the Time Lords.
So she's the mother, right? Basically, the mother character. She finds the Timeless Child.
Yeah, but
yeah, that's right.
She is one that became one of the Time Lords. She's not the same race as the Timeless Child.
So they're inducted into the division with all the other and it says here, the details of which were redacted from the Master. The Doctor's memories were subsequently erased prior to the childhood she remembers. Only snippets remain, masked as the story of the Irish policeman Brendan. So that's that's a lot of storytelling for that one tiny little detail.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Again, this is why it needed to be more episodes, because it's too much compacted into so little time that even I'm having trouble figuring it out. And
I don't like the idea that we're probably going to be getting basically prequel episodes in the future. That's not interesting to me. I mean, we already know what the Doctor is, and we already know who she is. And so going back, that's why it felt like to me that it was sort of revisionist to sort of troll with fans. That's how I felt, because I mean, that's why it's not interesting to find out about midichlorians. That's not interesting. I don't care about that. I don't care about the prequels. I don't care how Han Solo got his name. That's not interesting to me. I don't care about how they got the plans for the Death Star. That's not interesting to me. I care about characters. And so when you're explaining things that don't need to be explained, it's stupid. And that's the problem with prequels. And so if they're going to have a bunch of episodes where they're explaining all of this stuff that doesn't matter, that's not interesting to me. And so I feel like it opens up this whole sort of, I don't know, this whole thing. And we'll see. But yeah, you're right. It is the Timeless Children. And and it's just the Timeless Child. So we'll probably get to know more, I guess, in the next season.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
My fear is that they're just going to move on like nothing happened and not ever revisit any of this stuff, because they did such a bad job revealing everything else.
Right.
They didn't fit in the stuff that seemed like would have been a natural fit in the other episodes, or just re-rate them, like get rid of some of the bad episodes and put in different, better episodes filling in this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, and that wouldn't be
fill in anything in the next season.
That wouldn't be the first time that they played wonky with canon in Doctor Who, right?
No, because I mean, I haven't seen the old series, or I haven't seen much of the old series, before the fourth Doctor. I've seen some of 4, 5, and 6, and pretty much all of 7.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, 8, he only had a movie. So I've seen some old Doctor Who. And from what I've read, from the very beginning, the Doctor's history was never set. Like, regeneration was only invented as a way to keep the show going after the person who played the Doctor was going to be leaving.
Mm-hmm.
So they invented regeneration. Like, I don't think the Doctor was even a Time Lord until maybe the second or third Doctor, when they invented the Time Lords. So the Doctor's history has always been in flux depending on
Yeah,
who's writing the story.
that's what I heard.
And there's always been things that don't really make sense in the old series. Like, apparently there was an episode that showed a bunch of different faces of who the Doctor had been that were not the Doctor. Like, nobody knew who any of these people were, and it's never been shown again. So I guess now that makes more sense with this new revelation, because the Doctor had so many lives before he was the Doctor. So the Doctor's history, I I guess that's why it doesn't bother me so much, is because I know that the Doctor's history is just based on whoever's writing it, and it's not like Star Wars where it was one guy with one grand vision, and yes, that's been changed here and there, things added, things taken away, but it's usually people trying to unify it as one. Like, I'm pretty sure they have somebody on staff who like makes sure that things get stuck to canon of what's been shown on screen. I don't think that they have somebody like that with Doctor Who. I'm pretty sure they just let people do what they want with the story.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's why this didn't bother me as much as I'm sure it bothered a lot of people, because I mean, what are you going to do? Like, the Doctor has such a long history that things already don't make a whole lot of sense, because like in the first 4 seasons, aliens kept coming to Earth, and
Mm-hmm.
people still have no idea that aliens exist, even though Earth was completely taken away at one point. Like, everybody was in a different part of the universe. Like, they saw the sky be different. So
I
Doctor
don't
Who
know. That's why I felt
is
like it was
very,
particularly sort of trolling people that were mad about a female doctor. Like, look, she was always a doctor from the very beginning. I mean, she was always a girl from the very beginning, and so I don't know. It felt like, what else does this have to kind of offer that's interesting? Not much, and except for, I don't know. That was the obvious sort
the
of
thing that it has to
revelation
offer
to
is a
me.
blank slate
Yeah.
for people to write new stories into.
Which,
I
do you
think,
really want that in a show that's this old? And are you going to be explaining anything that's I don't know. I mean, the whole reason we like the show is because of the history of, that's part of the reason why we like it, because the history of, I mean, if you think about it, have we had a single episode of the show where you haven't been able to say, this is like this episode, this is like this moment, this is drawing from this? Like, at what point do we even want a clean slate? And I don't know. I just, that, to me, that was the obvious takeaway, that these writers, because it's not like that's the first time this season they would have been basically trolling people, and I feel like that was a big thing, that they just wanted to be like, see, you all were jerks, and look, she was always a girl from the very beginning. And I don't know, but nevertheless, we can definitely both agree that it was badly written. that that it was just so much exposition, that honestly, you have all of this stuff happen, that it was actually kind of boring, because she's just immobilized and he's just talking. That's not good writing.
yeah, like we've said, this
Yeah.
needed to be several episodes spread throughout the season.
Yeah.
It's it's kind of unfortunate, because I I like the ideas that they're presenting, but it's too much all at
Yeah.
once and presented in such a way that just leaves more questions.
Yeah.
It's just confusing. It seems like it's being confusing for the sake of confusing people. I don't know.
Yeah, it was just bad. It was badly done. So anyway, let us know what you think of the finale and the season as a whole. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section or on Twitter. And hopefully they'll be able to right the ship for season 13. We'll see how it goes. But Jonathan, where can people find you?
You can find me all over social media at John J. North, and I'm on Anchor, podcasts, and YouTube, iHeartMovies.
Great. You can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So check that out and make sure you're following the podcast. And please subscribe to this channel, or to if you're listening on YouTube, if you're listening on iTunes, could you please leave us your ratings and reviews? We really, really appreciate it. And if you are listening on YouTube, if you give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, we so appreciate that as well. And so it's been fun. I've really had a good time every 2 weeks talking about these with you. And we're going to try, I think, to cover season 2 in place now that we're done with this, because we've done 1 already. We're kind of doing a backpedaling. So that'll be really fun. But we'll keep you posted on that. And thanks so much. And we'll talk to y'all later. Bye, everyone.